if we could have something of such in Celestial Church of Christ, that when a landlord shepherd does something against the rule of the church or against the tenet of the church,
they can be reprimanded.
that you can be reprimanded, you can be transferred, you can be suspended,
disciplined,
or you can be disciplined, then I think we'll move forward in this church. But why that is not happening is, number one, the authorities are not building churches. They're not planting churches.
As the church as a body.
The church as a body, they are not planting churches. Now, number one, when you are building your church from wooden state to whatever it is, the church authority has nothing to do with it.
No input whatsoever.
We've heard of churches where the shepherd dies and the children sell off the church. Not one, not two, not three cases. When people say, oh, shepherds abroad are working, shepherds in UK, most of the members abroad are sending names to Nigeria for shepherds in Nigeria to pray for them. The administration of this church is too busy presently. They are busy with anointment money. Very soon they are going to be very busy with harvest returns. And that is how every year ends. Nothing concerns this church administration with whatever happens to
the shepherds,
or if your children are feeding as a shepherd or anything. And I can tell you, if your workers as an institution are not well taken care of, then you have a lot of menace to deal with.
The Celestial Perspective Podcast, bringing you a fresh perspective on the Celestial Church of Christ.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Celestial Perspective Podcast. It's my pleasure to welcome you here, and it's also my pleasure to reintroduce my co-host.
Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of the Celestial Perspective Podcast. My name is Oyin Kosala.
Yeah, that's the beautiful Oyin.
Thank you.
We are here with a guest who is also a friend of the house. And he's a shepherd, so he's a father of the house.
He's a friend and father of the house.
Yeah. Anyway, he's one of his popular, like Yoruba people will say, Inogije is YS, and it means young shepherd. Yeah, so he's a friend of the house, and we had him on one of our episodes
last season.
We had to bring him back because there's still so much in his line of expertise that we need to exhaust.
Correct.
And while I read his bio, I'm sure a lot of you would remember who I'm talking about. Yes. He is Superior Evangelist Lanre Ahanoluwapo Daniel, also known as YS, in bracket, Young Shepherd. A Superior Evangelist by rank, Shepherd in charge of CCC Imole Mowe Parish 1, with over 13 years in service. An evangelist, founder of the Celestial Singles Fellowship, and lead voice of the Shepherd Lives Matter campaign. He is happily married with kids. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our esteemed guests.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Shepherd,
It's good to have you.
Board, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's good to have you again.
Thank you so much.
Were you surprised when we asked you to come back on the
Well, I know there were many questions people were still asking after the first season. You know, there were so many comments, there were so many things that needs clarification. So, you know, I just prayed that, oh God, if you want these people to get an answer, let them bring me back to this podcast.
Welcome,
So,
sir.
when I got the letter, I was filled with joy.
Yeah,
And,
we're joyful to have you too. So we had you last season discussing the topic Shepherds' Lives Matter.
yes.
But the topic today has a little nuance to it compared to what we had last time. And it's the hidden burdens of ministry. Who cares for the caregivers? And we're going to explore a couple of things. Now, let's unpack that to start with. Why is it that our shepherds, our ministers in Celestial Church are generally full-time clergy, so to speak, as opposed to a couple of other climes where their ministers are, captains of industry, in different fields of endeavor as managers, CEOs, and then they are also pastors of their church. So in talking about the needs of our own ministers and shepherds, many would say, why are your ministers full-time? Why
they're
can't
not
they have other means to cushion their livelihood?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. First and foremost, I think we get to a lot of our generation, or probably this generation, don't get to understand that being a clergy, when you Google, even if you go on Google and type the most noble professions, I think being a clergy has to be part of top 10, top 15, or top 20. So being a clergy itself is a full-time profession. It's a profession on its own. For example, if I go to a bank now and they ask me what's my profession, I'm not going to write clergy part-time, carpenter part-time. I'm going to put clergy there. And even if I'm filling a government form, or I want to I've applied for visas, and when they ask me what do I do and I put clergy, they don't reject it as a profession. So which means clergy can either be full-time or part-time. So if anybody chooses to be a clergy full-time, it doesn't mean they are lazy. It means that is their line of business. Now to the question that why is Celestial Church of Christ, that the line of being a clergy, why is it different from every other church? Number one, Celestial Church has a mystery that is different from every other church. We can't, if you are born and bred in this church or you have been a part of this church, you can't undermine the power and the mystery that lies behind this church. I have seen people who are captains of industries, most of our fathers that became a shepherd, that God had to forcefully take what they are doing away from them so that they can become a shepherd. I've seen people that God calls, like, she shared me, like, do my work as a shepherd, and they turn deaf ear, and something tragic will just happen to them. I've seen somebody lose their child. I've seen somebody lose their sight. I've seen people's business run down. I've seen somebody's shop burnt down. I've seen so many. If you ask most of these our fathers in this church, I'm not talking about this generation shepherds. I'm talking about most of our fathers. They'll tell you the things that they had to live forcefully. Everybody wants to flex. Everybody wants to be outside there. Somebody like me, you think it is a thing of joy for me to just put on cassock, not putting on a nice shoe, or not working under AC, not working in a bank. I'm a graduate of mass communication. I can be in the studio working. I love sports journalism. I want to travel. Omar Akatugba was part of my set. If you know Omar Akatugba, he's a renowned sport journalist right now. So those are people that I used to be with then. So, but when God said, do this, if you don't do it, this is going to be the consequences. I have no choice.
So you are the son of a shepherd. Just
definitely, my father. Yes.
Now there are many who would say Paul was a tent maker.
Yeah.
And there are other figures in scripture, characters in scripture that, despite the fact that they operated in the apostolic call that they had, they also had side hustles. So what would you say to somebody who says, you're a shepherd, you cannot be a financial burden on the church? At least you're a vulcanizer or you're a mechanic. Why don't you practice that part-time? And then, whatever. Is there a required work rate in CCC that makes it almost impossible for our ministers not to be able to venture into other,
I'm going to note some notable work rates that would not allow a shepherd to probably venture into another full-time job. Now, and I'm still going to come back to the fact that there are some shepherds that has side businesses.
Yes.
It doesn't mean they resume to the office. But because they have the capacity to invest in another business. If I have somebody that gives me 5 million naira or 10 million naira now, I can have a candle factory in my church premise.
Does it have to be candle?
No, like that is probably
It's
that
a-
is
it's a
what I
business.
can do. That is a candle making is a business. People are making millions out of it. Most of the perfumes we are using in Celestial Church of Christ now are produced by people who are non-celestials,
Yes, correct.
and we are buying them. So now, the kind of work rate in Celestial Church of Christ that might not make a shepherd to venture fully into another business. Number one, I said it in the previous episode. A shepherd has to be in church. One of the mandates of Celestial Church of Christ is that your bell in your church, I'll say it again, that bell in your church must be rung every 3 hours and prayers must be said. 6 morning service, 5:30 to 6, 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m. Some people will still stay back in the night, still pray at 9 p.m., still pray vigil. And I will tell you, somebody like me now, I have assistants in church because I can, or let me say because I can be able to afford to give them stipends, not salaries. Stipends like, okay, you take. So as I'm here now, they are in church. When it's 3 p.m., they ring the bell, they pray.
Praying for your parishioners.
Pray for my parishioners, pray for the country, pray for everybody, pray for people that need to be prayed for. Now, there are people who don't have the ability to have workers. Those people will be mandated to stay there. Even if they tried to go out of line, to go and seek for another means, they will see what God is going to do for them, and they will come back and God will tell them, that is my hand. There used to be a man of blessed memory. He used to be an aluminium fabricator. People who attend international headquarters will know Baba Akimade of blessed memory now. He used to attend my church before. He was when my father was still a shepherd, he was my father's secretary. So he got a call like, Baishe Oluwa. And he said, I can't leave this job I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. If his children are watching me, they can testify to this. Then he got a sum of maybe 250,000 for a job to do. And he kept it in his safe. He locked the money in his safe.
250,000
Naira. Then, like decades ago, like 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And he locked it like, this is money. That this money will do something. And he went home. Before he came back the next morning, the entire money has been eaten by rats.
How did rats get into the safe?
He didn't see the rat in the safe. There was no rat present in the safe, and the money became useless. And he cried. He went to K2, and the prophet that was giving message just called him.
What do you mean, the prophet?
Yeah, like somebody was, in K2 they used to do spiritual counseling and consultation. So somebody was giving messages to people, and immediately the man shows up. They just called him that come. What you came for, what is bothering your mind, it is our hand. If you fail to sit to where we have called you to sit, you'll see more.
Okay, in lieu of this, earlier
Yeah.
you mentioned the disasters that
Yes.
shepherds or fathers of faith go through
Yes.
when they try to
Boycott.
neglect
Yes.
the voice of God.
Yeah.
Do you mean that God is wicked, or do you mean that there is a negative side to being a spiritual person or a follower of Christ? Why does it have to be that way? Why do I have to follow? And if I don't follow, why does there have to be consequences?
Christ says, if anybody has to follow me, you have to leave family, friends, carry the cross, and follow me. That's number one. Number two, God has a way of handling the people that he loves. The God of Israel is still very much alive. When the Israelites goes out of the way of God, they'll feel his heavy hands. If God loves you and you go out of proportion, he will discipline you. Bíbélì wípé ó nà wá gidigidi ṣùgbọ́n kò fi wá lé ikú lọ́wọ́. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Very much so, sir.
Okay.
You will be disciplined in ways that your mouth cannot, in fact, in ways that you will not have an option than to do his biddings. I just pray none of the viewers or none of the commenters that will later comment on this faces what I'm saying.
The consequences.
The consequences of what I'm saying.
All right. So seeing that you have a over a decade of experience in
Yes.
the business of shepherdhood.
It is not a business, it is a calling.
Okay, the calling of shepherdhood, so to speak.
Yeah.
What do you consider to be the state of the average shepherd's mental health?
I'm telling you, judging by my own mental health, I'll say everybody needs help. Every shepherd presently now. There are some shepherds that are very comfortable. I won't lie to you. There are shepherds that are millionaires. There are shepherds in cathedrals and a whole lot of that. But I can tell you that 90% of shepherds in the Church of Christ cannot boast of 500,000 naira in their account. 90%. That, yes, I have this saved.
So does money equal happiness?
Money does not
in
equal
shepherdhood?
happiness, but money answers a lot of things that comes to your table.
Okay, correct.
There are times you'll be in church, you have not eaten. People will come. There are a lot of people that will come to church. In fact, every day we entertain 10, 15 people that will come and say they have issues. Some people will bring letters from hospitals. Some people will tell you they have not eaten since yesterday. I'm telling you,
You're expected to
I
do
find
something.
joy in helping people
Okay.
than doing things for myself. So when people come for help and I am not able to do it for them, it drains me mentally. And it makes me look up to God like, God, why do you put me in this
Because you
position?
have been put in that position. You are seen that way.
If I
You
cannot
can't meet
do
up.
what you have sent me to do. There are people every day. In fact, I'll tell you that there are church members now that will come to church on Sunday. And will tell you, Olusho, come and sing Kotafe Jenle.
They don't even have transport to go back home.
And we don't even have what to go back home to meet. And you won't have a choice. Out of the things their fellow members use for Thanksgiving,
Just
you
give it
have
back
to
to
wrap
them.
some and give it to them at the corner.
Okay.
I went to a church last week Sunday, and on the sermon pulpit, I was just preaching, and there's this young lady that was reading the Bible for me, and I told her, if you can read all the Bible verses I'm going to call, I'll give you that 10,000 naira or $10. And this young lady read everything, and on that sermon pulpit, I gave her the video is online. I gave her $10 on that sermon pulpit, and an elder in the church called me after sermon and said he has nothing to eat at home. I don't know if it was the gesture I did or something. An elder in the altar, and this church is not a small church, a very big church. Now I had to take some money out of my purse, call the service conductor, and tell him I don't want them to know that I give this man money.
Okay.
And after the sermon, the church gave me an envelope, a very huge amount of money. Now I can tell you, if I'm not able to do for that man as at that time, my assignment, that man that I did something for might be my reason
For
of going to
being in that church,
that
okay.
day. It might not even be the message.
So I don't want us
okay.
to digress too much.
Okay.
Now, our subtopic is who cares for the
Yes,
caregiver.
definitely.
So the emphasis is on people like you,
Yes.
not the parishioners.
Definitely.
Or, not the people who come to
Definitely.
seek help. So I think we should first try and unpack that.
Okay.
We know there is something that I've always known since I was a child.
Yeah.
I'm also a PK.
I know.
In other clients they say pastor's kid.
Yeah.
Here I'm SKAV, shepherd's kid. And I've always seen that members, maybe because there are a lot of immature Christians, in our own denomination. I find that members of the church tend to depend on shepherds for all their needs. Their psychological needs, their financial needs. You mentioned something earlier on. Their some even the shepherd has to be a utility player. He has to be a marriage counselor.
Definitely.
He has to be
Spiritual father.
a
You
spiritual
don't even
father.
sleep at
He
night.
doesn't sleep at night. If their children are running temperature in the middle of the night, the first person
Doctor.
that they remember to
you are the
call
problem.
Yeah.
is the shepherd. Now, who cares for? Because definitely the shepherd has his own needs too. Who cares for the caregiver?
Now, to answer your question, number one, he who God has called, he glorifies. Now, for every man that is truly called by God, there is always a means of provision God has laid for them that even you yourself cannot define. That even you yourself cannot define that this is how,
He who has been called truly.
he who has been called truly. Now, I think the problem we have with our generation is people mix the people that are called and people that think God called them.
People that are called God.
Yes, people that called God or probably thought God called them. If God has truly called you, there will always be somebody for a season. Might not even be, in fact, I can tell you that the people that has blessed me, that God has used to bless me so much in my journey, are not even people that I've seen one-on-one. Maybe somebody overseas that just has a little problem, and that's where it comes from too. When people say, oh, shepherds abroad are working, shepherds in UK, most of the members abroad are sending names to Nigeria for shepherds in Nigeria to pray for
To pray
them.
So, sir, while that is true, I am of the firm belief that there are certain prayer points that should not even be prayer points in the first place.
Definitely.
Now, if we had certain structures in place, there are certain things that a shepherd will not even need to pray for before he has. For instance, the school fees of his children.
Yeah.
If there were structures in place to cater for that, he wouldn't need to have to pray. I remember a particular bishop who said, I have never prayed for house rent.
Definitely.
I think it's Bishop Oyedepo.
Definitely.
Said, I have never prayed for house rent. I have never prayed for this. He said, partly because he has learned to be austere in times that there isn't much, but that he, and that he has cut his coat according to his size.
Definitely.
But I believe that structures are necessary. Structures are necessary. There are certain things that need to be in place so that shepherds. Do you want to categorically tell me that there aren't shepherds who are called by God but who are begging in aberration to the will of God for their lives?
Definitely.
And because we don't have certain things in place to cater for them,
we will still have to go back to the church authority. If there are things in place by the church authority that, okay, you being a registered shepherd that has a church, and I wouldn't even fault the authority too much to be honest and to be fair. A lot of shepherds now are building churches, registering the church in their own names, and calling it their own private property. If such shepherd has any issue,
you shouldn't even go to the church.
you
as a
shouldn't
body.
even see the church.
Exactly.
For example, our own church now, when my father bought the land, I think in 1975 or so, he bought it in the name of Celestial Church of Christ. His name only appeared on witness signature as witness.
And he paid for the land with
And
his
he
money.
paid for the land with his money. Built the church with his money, because then, if you know where Mowe is still, in fact, till now, Mowe is still like a village. So, somebody like that, even though with everything he did, he was still neglected by the authority. But we will still look at that.
Well, sir, before we finish this particular segment, if we're saying that this is the response, we cannot blame the church authority, and I'm not even given to always blame the church authority for things, because we are also an authority at certain levels, and there are responsibilities at each stratosphere. But this is what I want to ask you: are these things not responses to the lackluster attitude of the leadership or the administration, so to speak, because people always adjust. If they see that there isn't enough help coming from certain quarters, they put certain things in place for themselves to cushion the effect. I was talking to a particular shepherd who said, actually, I think he's a shepherd in training a couple of weeks ago, and he said that if he builds a church, that he will not only be the shepherd of that church, but he will make sure that his child, whether that one has a calling
or not,
he
must be there.
Must be there, so that when he dies, the child can take over, because he cannot pour his sweat and blood on something, and at the end of the day, for a central body that doesn't really care about them. So, what would you say to a particular shepherd like that?
Well, I would say to a shepherd like that to rethink their decision. We are working for God in all sense of honesty. And one thing I'll just say is, I'll say it to the camera, just like I always do. The administration of this church is too busy presently. They are busy with anointment money. Very soon, they are going to be very busy with harvest returns. And that is how every year ends. Nothing concerns this church administration with whatever happens to
the
you,
shepherds,
or if your children are feeding as a shepherd or anything. And I can tell you, if your workers as an institution are not well taken care of, then you have a lot of menace to deal with.
So are you saying that everything the church authorities are busy with are unnecessary things?
They are very necessary now.
Okay.
They have to give you anointment. They will give you rank now and collect your money. Very, very necessary.
Very okay. Are you being
When
sarcastic?
you do, I'm not being sarcastic. It is the truth.
Okay,
Don't
sir.
you want to get anointment?
I want to, sir.
If I have money now, I'll collect as stand venerable. That is very necessary too.
Let's superior senior that sister. We need to go on the break,
Very
sir.
necessary.
sir.
We'll be back shortly.
The Celestial Perspective Podcast, bringing you a fresh perspective on the Celestial Church of Christ.
Yes, welcome back.
Welcome.
We still have Olisho YS,
YS
young
in the
shepherd in the
house.
house.
Thank you.
All right, so we're talking about the expectation for of people, of the shepherds, to always be strong, to always be anointed, and to always be available, even at the expense of themselves or their family. Personally speaking, sir, how have you been able to cope with that? And please touch a little bit on how Shepherds Lives Matter movement has been, so far since we last spoke.
I think we should take it from the movement first.
Okay, should we take it from the movement?
Yes, sir.
And
How was the movement?
The movement is there. I think the most important thing is the voice is out there. And
has there been an improvement from the last time we spoke?
Well, there has not been any tangible improvements due to the fact that when you start a project in this church, you need money and you need to know some people to execute them. I have a lot of things upstairs that I want to do. In fact, somebody advised me to have something like a dinner or gala award night for shepherds that have worked in the church and all that. To host that, you need millions of naira. I don't have that. Now, to know the people, to meet the people that could have that and all that, you might need to mumble jumble and I don't want to get mixed up.
But doesn't that seem like a superficial band-aid to call shepherds to a gala night where they come and eat fish and then they go back to the problems that they...
Well, the major thing we want to achieve with that is to bring them together, listen to what they need, listen to their needs, and probably celebrate them. Everybody needs celebration. If somebody knows that someone somewhere cares about them, they might not face their problem alone. So, it is just a means of, okay, in fact, we might do it from province to province or from state to state or probably from state evangelist parish. Okay, every shepherd under Ogun State, let's meet at Ibarra today. We want to celebrate ourselves and all that, give them food, do things for them. And
I think the fact that shepherds are men makes it difficult for them to be seen emotionally.
Yeah, definitely. You know, men don't want to cry, men don't, but I can tell you, men need help
If
too.
shepherds were women now,
Sir,
They do need
I want to
help.
look into your eyes and ask you this question.
Yeah.
Is there
able to able.
an aspect of isolation and loneliness to this call?
Definitely, every
Is
day.
it lonely at the top?
I shed tears. In fact, a few weeks ago, I was crying and I was telling God. I was just saying is help me.
I know of a shepherd that during the harvest. Sorry to cut you off, sir. During the harvest he has a cathedral, so the top windows, everything just started falling. It was raining heavily. Everything started falling and falling and falling, and he was making sure everybody was okay. Then his son, which is my friend, he said immediately he got into his office. Daddy was crying. Daddy was in shambles.
Do you know that when you have a
And he-
visible when you have a visible problem, it's easier.
Like, I'm just trying to
There
cite
are-
an example. He couldn't cry in front of his members.
There are times you don't even see the problem.
It's not obvious to
This time that I said I was crying, everything was going on fine. Like, but in me, I am feeling
You were
a
broken.
sense of unfulfillment of my calling. Like, God, I want to do more. I have no help.
Valid.
And I was crying and I was saying, God, help me.
Is there a side
You know,
to you?
I was just alone with myself.
Is there a side to you that feels that people know the preacher, but not the person?
Definitely. There are every side to me, like wherever I get to, be like, YS.
Why is
You know,
About
and you know, yeah, most times we get carried away by the encomium and all that. But when you get back home, you be like, come on.
just alone with your
They are
thoughts.
just calling me big Y. So God, I'm still small.
So has there been times where you had to sacrifice your family on the altar of service?
The beautiful thing about my life is I married the most wonderful woman in the world.
Wow.
Like, I don't know what everybody else married, but I think I married.
But you know what you married?
Yeah, I think I married the person that God created the best. Like,
Wow.
Tailored specifically for you.
if
sure?
like if I have to pay a dowry 20 times more, I'll do it.
Oh.
Within
I
the
still
next
paid one.
10 seconds,
I still-
say a word of prayer into my life that I will marry my wife.
You marry your wife in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
So I married somebody that financially, spiritually, physically, mentally, when I'm down, she knows. And she's always telling me, Daddy, everything is going to be all right.
She calls you daddy.
Yes. Everything is going to be
Jesse,
No.
Jesse left the
They
group
could
chat.
never.
Daddy, everything is going to be all right. Don't
Oh.
worry. Okay,
Yes.
let's call so person. She will still be the one to call them. And I can tell you that 90% of the people that I know today, I knew them through my wife. She's a confirmed prophetess. So she asks people abroad that, I feel sure no. They will call her. And when they call her, iṣẹ́ yẹn, ọkọ mi ló máa ṣe fún yín o. And they will, okay, èmi ò ṣe charge and bail. I don't do charge and bail. Whatever you do, just do Thanksgiving. And that is it. So, you know, I married somebody. She used to be a church worker too. Before we got married. You know how hard it is for a woman to be a clergy. She used to be a church worker. And there is one particular stigma about female church workers is that they don't usually get married. That is the stigma. And to the glory of God, we have been for about 7 years now.
Glory.
We got married 7 years ago. We still got married last weekend. If you check my page, we got married again.
This is serious.
And I still say we are still going to do white wedding, maybe in the next 5 years. And if I still have money, I'll take her to Dubai. We are going to do another wedding.
Amen.
So
Wow.
I'm going to
Shop your
keep. I'm going to keep marrying her as long as I can because she made my job so easy.
All right, sir. So, what have there been measures that have been put in to shield your personal and family life away from your calling?
Away from my call. Yes, one thing about me is that I made my children to see me as Mr. Lanre, not Olusho. I don't live in church compound. I took my family away from the church compound. I made sure that they are not growing up to the kind of environment we grew up to. I made sure that they don't lack, our own father, they were so vested in Isheoluwa that they literally
Can
don't
say
even have
that
time
again.
for us.
You can say that again.
They literally don't have time for us, from one meeting to another, zonal meeting today, district meeting tomorrow. In fact, my own father had to go and put me in Abeokuta, like, just go to school there, just go and live there. So, I don't want that kind of lifestyle. I had a chance like 2 years ago to leave this country. Like everything will be handled and all that. But they said it will not include my family. And I said, no, I will not leave this country without my family. If God is going to bless
bold.
me with an abroad journey, it will include my family.
So I'd like to throw this question to my
happened?
chief host.
What happened?
What did not happen? All right, your father was a renowned shepherd. It was, so I hear.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
Please.
That's Baba
Yeah.
Erile.
Yeah.
It was a renowned shepherd, and this is his
I'm
son.
still waiting for
And
the
this is his son, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
So what was the family like? What was the well-being like? What was the mental, emotional availability as a father like?
So now you are the guest.
Well, okay. So my father was, he was not an itinerant shepherd.
Okay.
So there were a lot of things that other shepherd kids went through that I didn't go through, negative things.
Okay.
Like some whose fathers will have to leave them in a particular state and then go to another particular state to be shepherds or workers. So he was very available. It was a polygamous, backstory. But for a polygamous man, I think he was very available.
Kì í ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ nínú ìjọ mímọ́.
That's a talk for another day. Let's not go there. But he was available, and his family values, are some of the things that shaped, somebody like me into, who I am today and the values that I have. So there are some PKs, pastors' kids or shepherds' kids who are lucky like me, and there are some who are not lucky. We're still talking about children of shepherds, and there's a popular stereotype that after they have prayed for many, like the shepherds and the ministers have prayed for many, there's usually a spiritual attack on their own family.
They themselves.
Do you have any experience with that?
Yes, I do. And the reason why a shepherd's kid would face spiritual attack is, or probably not be, a lot of shepherds' children are not useful for themselves.
Do you think it's a spiritual attack or is it neglect?
Now, it's spiritual because they themselves, because their father is a shepherd, it is always the sons or daughters of shepherds that neglect their spiritual life the most. Because they believe my father is powerful.
It's covered.
My father's grace covers me. So you see them doing sort of things, all kind of exuberances. I was born and brought. I have been a very, very wayward person before in my life. In fact, I was so bad to the extent that in that mowe, I'll pass through our church like this. My dad will be sitting down outside and I'll not greet him. I'll just pass him by. That is how wayward I used to be. I did, the only thing I didn't do was I didn't kill anybody. The YS they call me now is literally not young shepherd. It had other meanings back then.
Is it rated 18 or is something
Why
we can
don't you-
say?
Can you
it's not
mention-
something. No, it's not something I'm proud of. It's not something.
Doesn't matter. It's to encourage someone out there.
No. But all I'll just say is say no to cultism. Say no to drugs. Because I did drugs. I did a lot of things that God took away from me. And said, you're going to be useful. So if you tell me back then that I'm going to become a shepherd, in fact, I can send some pictures that they can pin to this video. So if you tell me back then that this boy is going to become a shepherd, I'll tell you, I can even slap you. I can send boys to come and beat you up. So, but when God is ready, You just have to be ready to. So I'll tell you that most of the things that shepherds' children face, or most of their unusefulness, is due to their lackadaisical attitude to the things of God.
But if they were well trained, do you think they will be like a difficult to the works of God?
If there is one thing to be well trained, and there is one thing to train yourself. Almost everyone is well trained. Taking the training and putting it to work
There's another
is
thing
what
in
matters
terms-
most.
Yes.
You can fool everybody, you cannot fool God. That's just it.
All right, sir.
We see the children of Eli in the Bible. Their father thought they were good kids now. They would go to where they were making sacrifices, put the fork inside, take the best of meat for themselves. And because of that, Eli lost his calling. In fact, their whole generation, they lost their calling. So it's still happening in our days. And I think the best way to undo that as a shepherd is to shield your children, your family, away from that life. Make sure they know Christ. Be a father to them. Be a friend, a father to them. Be present.
Because as
for
you're
them.
speaking, I'm sure there is a shepherd's kid or a pastor's kid that is hurting right now.
Definitely.
And the hurt is actually church hurt.
Yeah.
Bitterness.
Bitterness. To the point where there are a lot of pastors' kids that don't even want to hear you say pastor, the word
Definitely,
pastor. Because of the
definitely.
things that they went through.
And the church too, please. Go easy on pastors' families. Go easy on them. You judge them too much. You
Expect too much.
you put a lot of things. Pastors are human, their children are human. What a pastor child posts on his status will be the topic of the church. What a pastor's wife wear will be the... I am so free that anything my wife, any fashion in this world my wife wants to do, I'll be the first person to take her there. Because I don't want you to think because you married a shepherd, you're not free. When people were cutting their hair and tinting it, and my wife saw it, and I'd be like, I love Nancy Sime. I said, you want to do the hair? I took her to the salon.
Nancy
Oh yeah,
Sime.
cut her hair, tint it. When she carried it for 1 week, she said, I don't like this hair again. Oh yeah, dye it back to black. Oh yeah, start plaiting it. When people were piercing their nose, she saw it and said, you like it? Oh yeah, I'll do it. When she did it for 1 week, I said, I don't like this thing again. People are looking at me somehow. Oh yeah, remove it again. So I'll let you have the free. Okay, I don't want it to be like, oh, because you married a shepherd, you are not free
I'm
because you are still
hampering you.
young. No, I'll let you do what you want to do, but it is you that will come back to me and
Come
say,
back to me.
this thing is not going out. Okay, now you can do this.
So you're saying people should not have too high expectations from
Not
pastors,
to be too
not to be too
judgmental.
judgmental.
We are man of God. Man comes before God. We are just ordinary men used by God. That
True.
is it.
That's
So
profound.
man will always be man.
Is it we're talking about the hidden burdens of ministry.
Yeah.
How do you deal with criticism, betrayal? Have you had any cases of betrayal?
100. The thing is, you can't be an upright person and not have a case of betrayal. Not in this world. You cannot be, except you yourself engage in hanky-panky and things. If you're an upright person, you definitely have criticism. In fact, somebody who I appear online a lot and all that. I have people who have not even seen me before and will tell you, this is how YS is. And when you get to meet me and you be like, this is the YS they were talking about, I'll tell you, this person has not even met
Have
you.
you ever been caught in the middle of internal church politics? Whether, celestial generally or at the parish level?
Being caught how?
Yeah, well...
Entangled.
Yes.
Yes, kind of. And it's in the issue of Shepherd Lives Matters and all that, when people want to politicize it. We went to meet a certain person who wanted to use it for his own manifesto and all that, and we just had to die it down there. Yeah.
So, saying that, I still want us to dwell a little bit on this because there'll be a lot of questions in the hearts of the people listening to us.
Okay.
Are you saying that there are certain people who would rather make this movement about them rather than the shepherds that the movement is supposed to be about?
I think we are in a church where I'm not sorry to say this. We're in a church where when you have money, people who have money wants to be known for something. They have money. Most people have money, but they don't have the idea. They don't have what to do. So to be known. And that is why you see many ministries now. A lot of people wants to do crusade. They want to do studio live session because they have the money. They don't have the calling. In fact, you attend some crusade and you be like, God is not here. God does not know about this crusade. God does not know. God does not know about this thing. But because the person has money, he can pay the best of the best ministers. And because our ministers are for sale now, so they can pay the best of the best ministers. So, people have money. So now when they see that you have an idea, a movement like Shepherd Lives Matter movement is a movement that can never die. That if the right support comes in, there are a lot of things to do. But because we don't have the movement is registered under Corporate Affairs Commission. We have our certificates, we have everything. So when the right time comes, when we have our own personal money to spend on the project, or when we have somebody with a genuine heart, because the people we went to meet, they said we have to put their picture on whatever we are going to paste. We have to put their picture that they are the brain behind this, and this is God's project. So when we have somebody with a genuine heart that wants to help shepherds or ease the lifestyle of shepherds, then we are good to go.
Have you ever had any call or threat or anyone telling you, shut it down?
Yes, I did. And I don't want to mention names online, but may his soul rest in peace. There was one of pastor's spokesperson, I think he was in charge of media. He called me then and said I should end the movement, that it might cause an uproar, it might cause problem at Imeko and all that from the pastor that I have to shut it down. And I said, it is not my thing, that it has gone beyond my hands.
So what aspect of the movement would be a threat to the existing system?
When Shepherd Lives Matter was on, that was the exact time that Black Lives Matter rally was happening. So they thought the way people did protest then
in the US,
that we were going to gather people and probably come to Imeko and shut down the whole road and destroy things. And I said, this thing is different. What we are saying is, instead of the Celestial Authority giving money to Ogun State government, about 30 million naira to Ogun State government, and you told us to fill a form that you want to give shepherds money to relieve them during COVID time, but they took the money to the government. So the movement came out like, you can't neglect people working for you. Even in that COVID period, people were still paying their monthly returns.
So has there been opposition from the pastor's office
about
Shepherd's Lives Matter?
No, there cannot be a direct opposition.
Okay.
Because it will be recorded and it won't be nice. But there are it won't speak well, but there are definitely calls. And when a kid is crying and his parent is throwing deaf ears, it means they are opposing the movement. Because I thought it is something that from the pastor's office, they could have sat down and be like, okay, you come. What do you think we can do?
So no answer
means keep crying. And there's no problem. We'll get there one day.
We will get there.
Yeah.
We will come back.
Okay.
We'll come back.
The Celestial Perspective Podcast, bringing you a fresh perspective on the Celestial Church of Christ.
All right, welcome back to this. Okay, let me quickly introduce our...
This is actually very, very nice.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay. DBB Victors. This is the second cup.
This is the second cup I'll be taking. Shepherd Lives Matter. This is actually very good for health. Yeah.
So please patronize them for your harvests, for your concerts, for your conferences. They've been refreshing us since the beginning of this season. And
Definitely.
Joseph, what do you have to say about
Shepherds, drink more
drinks?
Zobo and Tiger Nuts rather than that. Yeah, Shepherds takes a lot of sugars. So I think you should
It's
take more
natural.
Zobo and
Tiger
Tiger
Nut,
Nuts.
they,
Yeah,
they have natural drinks.
it's actually very
DBB
good.
Victros. And
Thank you.
Joseph has finished about 4.
Chief host life matter.
Chief host life matters.
Abi?
So what do you have to say about the chin chin? I've not really tasted
Diet
it.
cakes and chops. Amazing. I mean,
They make our small chops too, yeah?
I'm almost halfway.
Yeah.
So please
I'll try.
patronize our brands. They've been good to us. So we're on the final lap of this episode, and we still have with us YS.
YS,
Show.
that now means
Young
Young
Shepherd.
Shepherd.
Thank you.
the infamous leader of the Shepherd.
The famous, oh.
The famous
Ah.
of the Shepherd's Lives Matters campaign.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it will be amiss for us not to touch on the issue of landlord shepherds. We had this versus in contrast to transfer shepherds. We had this conversation with God rest her soul, Auntie Debo,
Yeah,
2 years ago. Yes. Now there's a level of security that comes with being a landlord shepherd. They are to a large extent they are untransferable. Let me put it that way, because it's difficult to just ask a landlord shepherd that built this church, leave this church. Excuse me. That bell was thanks to our sponsors.
Yeah.
And go to a particular church somewhere. So, first of all, are you a landlord shepherd?
I'm not.
Okay. So, how do we balance this? How do we cushion the effect? Because a lot of transfer shepherds are limited based on how they can run things, or how they can make certain demands in their parishes. How do we cushion the effect of being a transfer shepherd as opposed to being a landlord shepherd in terms of the financial security that is involved,
Discipline,
whatsoever
the
security?
I think the prototype of how a church should be run has to be the laid down rules for a transfer shepherd. Even if you built your own church, or God used you to build a church, you still have to run it through the prototype, having the fear that this church does not belong to me, it belongs to God. So it's still, something happened in another denomination. A particular pastor who God used to build a particular church. His wife celebrated the birthday when they were not supposed to celebrate it, and the general overseer suspended the pastor.
Yes.
And he said he couldn't accept the suspension, and he left. He started, and they took over the parish and put somebody there, even though the pastor was instrumental to how
To
the
the
church
development
was built.
of that church.
In fact, she couldn't
So,
mention the church without the pastor.
So if we could have something of such in Celestial Church of Christ, that when a landlord shepherd does something against the rule of the church or against the tenet of the church,
They can be
that
reprimanded.
you can be reprimanded, you can be transferred, you can be suspended,
Disciplined.
or you can be disciplined, then I think we'll move forward in this church. But why that is not happening is, number one, the authorities are not building churches. They're not planting churches.
As the church as a body.
The church as a body, they are not planting churches. Now, number one, when you are building your church from wooden state to whatever it is, the church authority has nothing to do
No
with
input
it.
whatsoever.
It has nothing to do, except you can probably go. I've seen a lot of instances that they said our pastor, our father, Reverend Eme for Shofa, supported some parishes when they have disputes, personally from his own purse. And that is, if you can, somebody like me now, how do I get to the pastor? They will, even if I say I want to have an audience with the pastor, they will think I want to talk about something else. So, the church authority, the church body on its own, helps nobody to develop their parishes. And such person who puts his sweat on something, all his life savings, and all, we've heard of churches where the shepherd dies and the children sell off the church. Not one, not two, not three cases.
So you're saying that their efforts in establishing that church whether consciously or unconsciously, makes them develop a sense of
Entitlement.
And so that's where misappropriation of church money comes in and all
Sir,
those things.
don't be surprised that there are even some shepherds that are transferred to smaller parishes. That when they go to the parish, there's nothing there, no speaker, no instrument. They tried from their
Built
own
it.
power to build the church, do the instruments, and once the church is shining, they transfer the shepherd. And do you know that something is now happening? There's now a new trend. When they transfer them, those shepherds will now unplug all the instrument they buy, carry the church keyboard, carry the church. Yeah, there was one that happened. He emptied everything in the parish.
To his new parish.
In fact, maybe he emptied it
Joseph,
home.
don't you think that's valid?
And they actually declared him wanted. They declared him wanted. That they declared him wanted for theft. And he told them that it is the people that he worked for. And luckily for him, I think he bought all those things in his name. When he was buying it, he was using his name on the receipt.
There's a popular saying, sir. I don't know if you can help me. That ẹni tó bá
jẹ́ ń di pẹpẹ, ẹni tó bá ṣe ń di pẹpẹ, á jẹ́ ń di pẹpẹ. Bí pẹpẹ bá ṣe tó àti location pẹpẹ ló máa matter.
I translate though.
ẹ ti sọ sir.
Ẹni tó bá jẹ́ ń di pẹpẹ, ẹni tó bá ṣe ń di pẹpẹ, á jẹ́ ń di pẹpẹ. Ṣùgbọ́n bí pẹpẹ bá ṣe tó àti location pẹpẹ òun ló matter.
So our location pẹpẹ kan wà.
You cannot compare me in Mowe, Imole Ayo Parish, to the shepherd in charge of King of Kings Parish. The altars are different.
All right.
We may both have 7 lampstands, but what will we eat?
Lampstands.
What we are going to eat is different.
So is there a leveler somewhere? Is there a way that we can buffer this?
The only way we can level things is when people are not being greedy, when we show love truly. When you know that this particular shepherd is trying for himself, and I, in my power, I have things that I can do to aid and to boost his ministry and his life, and I can release to him. We have shepherds that have 4, 5, 6, 7 cars. And there are shepherds. Me, I don't have any. 13 years in ministry, I don't have a car. Can you imagine?
Okay, sir. Say for
us. No. Okay. I'm just saying now. Right. And we have somebody that has 4, 5, 6. We have a shepherd that can pick up his microphone today and say, "Hey, Yomo Joy, mo fẹ́ change mọ́tò mi leni. I tell you, I want to change the pẹpẹ, they will change it."
Àwọn pẹpẹ Banana Island ni pẹpẹ Ikate.
Definitely.
Àti Lekki one.
Sir, another instance. There are churches that they have spiritual items that they can use for 15 years. That people have used as Thanksgiving items. And they are wasting away in their store. And there are parishes like our own that we have to buy candle every Sunday.
Pepe Mowe. Okay.
We have parishes that if you do Thanksgiving there with Asho Pepe 15,000-20,000, one mama fi suni. And we have our own parish. So if we buy Asho Pepe 20,000 go fi shop in our own parish. We'll clamor it.
German shepherds, German harvest.
We'll clamor it. So the only leveler is when shepherds that are up, the upper echelon, let me call them the upper echelon, can look downwards to the ones that are coming, not seeing us as competition, not seeing us as a threat, see us with love. I don't have to call you my spiritual father before you help me. I don't have to come and lick your feet before you help me. Like, this boy is trying for himself. Okay, come, let me give you this.
All right, sir. So seeing that there's so much problems, if you could attain the position of authority, what would be the templates? What would be the measures you would put in place for shepherds to live a more comfortable and fulfilled life?
The first solution to the problem of Celestial Church of Christ is digitalization.
What do you mean by that, sir?
The church has to go digital. And when I say digitalization, there has to be a database for everybody who is calling themselves shepherds. We need to know the problem. The problem of this church has been to the extent that people can get registered as a shepherd even in their house. That is how corrupt it is. They can send. I've seen people send registration form to people through bus.
That's black market.
They fill it and return it back, and bam, you are registered already. So now we have more registered. My own registration number is about 13,000. I will not mention the rest so that they will not go and remove my file. If I can be 13,000 13 years ago, I got registered 13 years ago, and my registration number was 13,000. Now, 13 years to this time, look at the influx of people calling themselves shepherds. Look at the numbers that will be now. And I can tell you, 70% of these people that are registered, that you register as being a shepherd, doesn't have a parish. They don't have a church. Most of them are not serving under any shepherd. They are at home doing TikTok ministry, doing crusades, doing a lot of things. And when you ask them, what is your job? They tell you they are clergy. Clergy, a shepherd that has no sheep, is deceiving himself. So these are the people that are the bad eggs within shepherds, spoiling the images of shepherds. Because a shepherd that has a church, that has sheep to attend to, will not sit down on TikTok and be telling people, bring this, bring that, bring this. Will not want to spoil his own reputation. They are the ones charging 2.5 million for Ishe Okorun, 3 million for this. You go on TikTok, you see somebody with 2 earrings representing Celestial Church of Christ, calling himself a prophet. He preaches Christ today, tomorrow you see him in the nightclub. These are the people you are giving regards to. These are the people you are putting at the face of the church. And the church will continue to degenerate if we don't flush them out. And if you ask them, they show you their registration number. They are registered clergy under Celestial Church of Christ. How do they get registered? Who interviewed them? Did you follow them to their church?
So how do you think these misdemeanors can be regulated?
It can only be regulated when we are digitalized. See,
there's a database for
when there is a database for shepherds.
Does that include legal steps?
I don't want to mention the name of this church that I love so much. But when you go to their website and click ordination, you see the number of people that are going to get anointment for that year. Not Celestial Church. You see the number of people that are going to get, each province, each state. I can open it for you here. Those that were ordinated last year, the pastors that were ordinated this year, you will see them there. But I tell you, in this my church, you can get anointment certificate without getting to Imeko. These things has to stop. It has to.
So, sir, if you were to sit one-on-one, hypothetically, with the pastor, what will you tell him?
I'll look into the camera, sir.
I'm looking to the camera.
All right, sir.
Pastor, sir, there are people around you that does not want the progress of the church. There are people surrounding you. There are people following you around that doesn't want this church to progress. And everything you have worked for the past years, that God has kept you alive for, if you don't lay your foot down and put things in place, digitalize this church, let us know who is real and who is not. Nothing will remain when you go, sir. So please, sir, there are people around you that doesn't want this church to progress. They are treating your workers like shit. They are treating your workers like they are nobody. If shepherds speak if a transfer shepherd speaks anyhow, they are ready to transfer him to anywhere. Even if a landlord shepherd does something that is bad, if he can know his way to give some people money, they won't do anything to him. So, pastor, sir, if your legacy will continue, please look into the welfareism of shepherds. Digitalize the church. Let every shepherd has their username, their password. Let us know who is who. Where is your parish? Who are you shepherding on? If you don't have a sheep, you don't have a purpose in this church, collect their registration number. They are not registered. Let them stop parading themselves as shepherds. And that is it.
So, sir, you mentioned earlier that there are people around the pastor who are going to sink the church.
I'm not saying they are going to sink the church. They don't want the church to move forward.
Okay.
They want it to remain as it is.
Who want the church? Who want the church?
You
to
want
be
me to
stagnant?
mention their names?
No, sir, no, that's not what I mean,
Okay.
sir. I'm trying to ask: will the pastor do it alone? How does he gather the right people to be around him and regulate these issues?
I love the pastor so much. He's a spiritual head. The pastor, if somebody is called the spiritual head, I'm very sure our beloved father, EMA for Shofa, knows the people around him and he knows them well. Taking the action is the only thing that remains. Taking the action is the only thing that remains. I know he knows the people that
knows
means
what
well
to
for them.
do.
He knows what to do. Our father knows what to do.
So should we normalize sabbaticals, retreats, therapy for clergies like you?
To reboot.
Yes. I think when we say Shepherd Lives Matters, there are things you yourself as members can even do for your shepherds. I know of a shepherd that his members will gather money. They take him for vacation. He goes to Europe.
Àwọn pẹpẹ ńlá tẹ̀ ń sọ
Àwọn
wọn pẹ́.
pẹpẹ tí mò ń sọ nìyẹn. I know of a shepherd that one of his members will pay for his what is it called? Massaging, pedicure,
spa.
manicure, spa. Shepherds they get Nuru massage.
Deep tissue.
Hey, so there are things you can do to soften. Shepherds are not ambulances that you call when you have problems alone. When there is good life to chop, please call us.
Call your shepherds, right?
We don't take alcohol doesn't mean we cannot take good zobo, good
Tiger nuts,
mocktail. Yeah, we can go to. You can book
Zanzibar,
cinemas. You can book cinemas for your
Tanzania.
shepherd. You can go to church one day. Just squeeze money in the hand of your shepherd. Change his phone. Pick one of his child and say, okay, yeah, Olusho, I'm like a go, mama, son, school. It's out of your generosity.
Exactly.
And
Alright.
see what God is going to do for you.
Let me speak directly to you on that note.
Yeah.
This is your what's the word? This is a calling out for you watching this particular episode.
Definitely.
As you are clicking the stop button, go and do something for your shepherd.
Do it.
Do something for your
No
shepherd.
matter how small.
To be
Don't
very
just
honest.
comment.
How
Don't just I know
Airtime,
I know a lot of you are going to
data.
abuse me. I
No.
don't mind. No, I received a lot of abuses from the last episode, but I don't mind.
Take care of people who take care
Pop-
of you.
A
Please.
wake up call. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Take care of
your
A
shepherds.
Wake up call.
Take care of
Do
them.
something today. Now. Don't put it out
Take care
to
of them.
later.
Your
Don't put it
shepherds
off to
cry
later.
too. Your shepherds are weak too. Your shepherds need help too. Your caregivers need care too. So please, never ever neglect the needs of your shepherds.
So what do you think can be the lasting band-aid on? There are a lot of shepherds that are floating right now. They don't have a parish because probably they cannot grease palms. They don't have the resources. There are some parishes that now have like 10 assistant shepherds because there is no placement for the shepherds. Is there a
Because the
solution
pepper
for-
because the pepper is big.
One, the pepper is big. Two, and then these shepherds have not. They are floating or squatting about in parishes, and this is an
Personally, I
eyesore.
don't think I feel like shepherdhood is just a dumping ground.
That's why I said the church authority itself are not planting churches.
Okay.
If there has been a church planting procedure, culture, now we have hundreds of people graduating from Celestial Seminary every year. Where are you transferring them?
Where are you
Where?
planting them?
Nowhere. Most of them will now switch to ministry. Most of them switch back to a lot of things.
TikTok.
But when there is a church planting culture, okay, in Ogun State, Celestial Church of Christ as a body wants to build 10 churches. Make the cry out. You see people that will give you land. Celestial Church of Christ is not small.
Okay, no, yeah.
No. So, okay, now 10 parishes, just build it anyhow you want to build it. 2-3 shepherds. Fill in these places. When you finish, you move here. And I think it is high time the Celestial Church of Christ Authority looks into transferring landlord shepherds too.
That would be a total war. on its
Yeah,
own.
it will be a total war, but it is achievable. During the days of my father, there is what we call altar exchange. They will transfer our father to another parish where there's a landlord shepherd, and they will bring the landlord shepherd to our church. They used to do it.
Okay, so
Back
this
in
is
those
a
days.
transfer of landlord shepherds.
Yes. Now I think it is time. If you are using, I think because the church logo is not registered. The church hymns are not registered. So
Yes.
even if you come
Copyright.
to somebody's church now and say you want to transfer them, they will say they are not under EMF, they are under this, they are under that. So once everything can come into place, once we have a unified constitution, I think landlord shepherds too should be transferred.
So, sir, there's a young shepherd watching you, a younger shepherd.
Okay.
You are the young shepherd. There is a younger shepherd watching you who just took over from his father, or who is just taking over from his father, or who is preparing to take over and is confused and is doesn't know what to do.
Or who has been
pressured.
independently called.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a
to-
shepherd father or shepherd.
young
grandpa.
shepherd that is just-
the first problem you are going to face is respect.
Commanding respect.
Commanding respect. That's the first problem you are going to face. There are people who are going to tell you, listen, Baba, katun sin omo,
Bolobie.
gba ono bi e, isoju wa no se bi e. There are some of your friends that would never respect you, that would never call you Olusho. 13 years in ministry, and I still have friends, even female, that we grew up together and say, I know how far. They will still come to my church. And I'll be like, wow, my church members are here. You cannot be calling me that. So the first thing will be respect. They will be like, no, now you can't command us. You can't do this. You can't, and you just need to seek for the wisdom of God.
Seek wisdom.
The journey is RTD, rough, tough, and dirty. But if you are with Christ and you know your calling, never ever compromise. There will be people that will come to you and say, Jeka je baba fun e. There will be people that will come to you and say, Jeka je igi leyin ogba e. Don't bend into them. God is your only father. And please be careful of the people you choose as your spiritual father. Your spiritual father may not be following Christ. You are following him to hell immediately.
Following each other.
Yeah.
So, sir, what do you think can be put in place in order to make lives more comfortable for shepherds, especially within the sanctuary?
Yeah, well, I think we need to focus more on assistant shepherds and church workers too. We shouldn't forget about them. There are a lot of churches that their assistants and their church workers are sleeping on the floor, battling mosquitoes and a whole lot of that. And they have life to live too. So I'll just say all these cathedrals and bigger parishes, whenever you are building your churches, please try to build hostels and lodges for assistant shepherds, for workers. And please don't take more workers than
You
the
can cater
provision,
for. You can cater for,
that
yes.
you can cater for. Don't take workers that you cannot cater for. If people come, there will be, in fact, there are church members that will still turn to, in fact, most of you that criticize shepherds the most, one day, they might bash Oluwa.
Ìpè ń rùn lórí ẹ̀.
That is the fact. And you will now face the things you are criticizing. So that is why you have to be careful to not be a victim of what you criticize. So there are a lot of people, even in the church, that is calling on their head presently now. They are still battling it, but they will get there one day. So even if such person rises to the post of a church worker and the church cannot cater for them, it is just right for you to tell them, go to the seminary, find transfer, or find a place, or probably just
Do something else.
Yes, I do have conversations with my workers like, this and this are what I can cater for. This and this I cannot cater for.
What about people that run to the work of God as the last resort?
You will run back.
As a retirement plan.
Yeah.
You will run back. That's just the fact. The work of God is not even I don't envy. It's not enviable.
So do you advise your workers to go out and get jobs,
I do
find
tell
something
them.
doing?
Yes, I do tell them. But immediately I advise them, maybe the following night, something will come to them and they will come back to me. Olusho, Ọlọ́run ní kò sí oore ọ̀fẹ́. Ìwọ fúnra rẹ ló ní Ọlọ́run kò sí oore ọ̀fẹ́ o. So, jájọ máa manage ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀. So let's manage it like that.
So I personally believe that if there is a set of people, a group of people who are in the sanctuary 24/7, praying for the parishioners, catering to their spiritual needs,
Not even only parishioners they are praying for.
for the nation,
They are praying for people abroad that their shepherds has gone to do gatesman during the day. You know now, they would say, should be people abroad, should be their shepherds are working. those shepherds that are working, their members are sending names to Nigeria. Olusho eba mi ṣe padà. Olusho eba mi gbàdúrà gbogbo ìjọ, because their shepherds has gone to do caterer somewhere. So we are not only praying for our own members now. We are praying for the members of that una shepherd abroad where they work. We are praying for them. So the work of a clergy is a full-time job. Full-time job, a spiritual job.
So the Olushos abroad, are they considered to be clergies or?
They call themselves clergy.
Okay.
Well, that's a different climb. Things there are quite the economic situation and, the way the economy is built. Let's not really go.
It is none of my concern. If me to go to Canada, if
I
find job, I go do.
But I know it's possible for God to take you to Canada and demand that you do nothing else except your ministerial duties. It's possible,
and God will definitely pay.
He will provide.
The thing is, people are trying to bite more than they can chew. People are trying to, when you get married to a wife that wants to buy the latest ear, my wife has been using the same phone for the past 3 years. If I want to change
somebody
it for her,
should change it.
If I want to change it for her, she say, let's use the money for this, let's use the money for that.
Don't tell her, surprise her.
I don't have the money for surprise. No need.
You want her to say, let's use it for something. That's why you're telling her.
This my phone too has been 3 years now.
Somebody is watching that will say.
Take care of our mommy.
Somebody is watching. Somebody is actually watching that will say, please, how much is 15 Pro Max?
Please.
Let's send 2 to
buy for Mrs. YS.
Daddy YS and Mommy YS.
So that is just how it is. When you marry a woman that is contented, you don't have to do. I don't have to scam anybody.
You have healed us so much.
I don't have to
this
scam
show.
anybody. I don't have to tell people where God has sent me to you. I don't have to. I've been on the social space. I'm not sure anybody has reported me to Real Celestial or we in the CCC that why is scammed me of 1 million or why is scammed me of no. I am living within my means. And that is just what it takes to drive this journey. Don't do more than yourself.
Shepherds, you have heard.
Don't do more than yourself. You can have 2 garments and make it look like you have 10. I only have this one white cassock to God. And if I wear it each day that I wear it, it looks brand new. It looks fine because I am contented. I have people I can call and say, Oluwa sọ pé kó rán cassock fún mi.
Sharp.
But when God did not say it, if I wear it, I'm wearing nonsense.
Wow.
So it is what it is.
It's been a great episode.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's always a pleasure to have you, sir. And maybe
so much.
season 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 we'll also have you.
There's no problem. I will always be here.
Thank
There's
you very
always
much.
something to talk about.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
being a part of the family.
Thank you
and
so
also
much.
thank you to our viewers for being diligent enough.
Thank you so much.
And for giving us your attention.
Thank you to our
you so much.
sponsors.
And our sponsors, DBB Victuals.
Okay.
Thank you so
I
much,
think
sir.
I have to have a taste
Diet.
of this, and I'll take to my wife at home.
No problem, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very
Amazing.
much, Diet. There's what-
Diet cakes and chops.
Thank you so much.
Freshly baked.
Thank you, DBB Victuals.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're also
Appreciate
using this
you.
opportunity to call out to sponsors. I'm sure that at this point you see that this is serious business. These are narratives that we must shift, paradigms that we must shift, so that
Talks that
our
must be
church
had.
can grow into the image that we desire. And we need sponsors.
We need you.
To keep us. Yes, we need you to keep us afloat. We know that there are celestials who, are capable.
Able and
To,
capable.
yes, I'm telling you,
Very
to support
much.
this endeavor
Yeah.
and take it out of our hands so that we can focus on the technical
Yeah,
aspects.
yeah.
So we're expecting you to reach out to us, and we say, God bless you. God bless Celestial Shepherds. God bless Celestial Ministers,
Amen.
and see you again
Amen.
on another glorious episode.
Thank you. God bless
Bye.
you. God bless you.